Oh, we're live. No intro. I don't know.
Wow.
Let's just do an intro. Holy crap. It's been like a long time, Greg, since we
I know.
jumped on here.
I've just been sitting here. It's, it's really weird to sit here for that long without doing anything but wait for the next episode.
Yeah, we sent you the link and you just sat there.
I know, right?
You've been very patient. So welcome back everybody. Uh, so Andrew's not here. But don't you worry. We're gonna do another surprise return episode of all three of us Monday morning. So set your clocks, mark your calendars, and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell,
Yep.
and you'll get our notifications. So, but until then, what would be the best to talk about on this long-winded wait?
Well, let's think about it. Let's see. What did we talk about last time? I don't even remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, last time I think last time, let's see here. I'll go straight into the abyss. Oh yes, that's right. We discussed causal order.
Yes.
Its uniqueness. Yeah, that's what
Cool.
the major question was. What if what you know as plausible action in relevance to your realized potential isn't what is perceived? So I
Right.
think that
Yeah.
I think that comes to an ontological approach to just about everything.
Yeah. The interesting thing about ontology is its structure, right? It's
Mm-hmm,
architecture. It's geometric, right?
mm-hmm,
Our ontologies are fixed in place, and they're made of nouns, right? We don't tend to be able to articulate structures that are verbifiable because verbifiable structures can't be ontological because they're unstable,
mm-hmm,
right? So what people think about ontology, if they indeed think about ontology, it's like a skeleton as opposed to a living, breathing thing.
mm-hmm.
Um, which, in the science that I've been doing, the interesting thing has come to be what about ontology can be in motion, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about structure can be flexible enough to move without sacrificing the meaning provided by the structure?
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's one of the interesting sort of like hidden aspects of causal order, because we have to make it between causes and effects for it to make sense. And
Mm-hmm.
the ontology can only tell us where we can land between steps, right? It can't tell us how to move between different articulations of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the act of philosophy itself, I think, the moving between the different parts of an ontology in a way that still manages to be lawful under the ontology. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sort of
Right.
like what you're doing with Chrono Pump right there. Actually, is trying to tap into that realm of making sense of what make doesn't make sense. It's to
Right.
understand that it's the understanding of what you cannot understand, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Exactly. Like, yeah, it's sort of like the only way you can make sense of, here's a good live demo, right?
Hmm.
Let's try a live demo. Oh wait, I'll just use the thing that I always use on shows. Like, so if I did this, like,
Hmm.
right, it's falling, right? We call it falling. We
Hmm.
call it movement. but I'm putting it in the air and it's returning to wherever I try to move my hand to, right? How do we describe the actual motion in terms of motion instead of the thing that we keep the books on? Like we call this gravity, right? Gravity is what we call the ontology. It's what we write down after we make an observation, as opposed to like the thing itself, which is ineffable because you can't describe it until after it's done. That's what I like about it. Because the laws of it are built into the way the ontology of gravity works. But when we talk about gravity, all we're doing is writing down a bookkeeping artifact that describes what happened afterwards. It's never as literal as the motion.
Well, another thing that we could actually use is the simple fact that you could get up and move around with your camera, and I'm stuck here. If I move around, something weird's going to happen with the camera. You're not going to capture me. So that's another.
Yeah, exactly. So, it also actually gets at an interesting point where ontologies break down, right? Because you and I are both operating from cameras. Like you could hypothetically do that same thing with your thumb and give yourself a little windshield wiper, but yeah, exactly.
See, the difference here, everybody, is the perception that you see. It looks like it's a windshield wiper to Greg, being closer up to his camera, and me. Look at that. That's literally all he's doing.
Yep.
But it's like the optical illusion, the old optical illusion.
Same ontology. In fact, exact same ontology. If you're being very general, right? Cameras pointing at two guys, right? One of them can reach the camera and do this. Another one can do it a little further away. Same motion, different effect. Exactly. Same ontology, different movement.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. Yeah, the greatest optical illusion right here. Your two pointer fingers right up close, focus, and it looks like a centerpiece of your fingers combining, just floating.
Yeah, right.
But it's really just your eyes.
I can also do, like it looks like I'm about to touch my eye, doesn't it? I'm not. I'm like nice and in front of it.
It's interesting when you do this and you switch from eye to eye, you know that it's just your two fingers. But
so that's
then it looks like to the
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I said, but then you yourself, you can actually see it's your two fingers with one eye. That's the illusion. But to another person's eye watching you do it, looking like an idiot, it actually does look like you're touching your eye.
Right. So that says something about frames and the forced perspective they give us, right? That's even more like you're looking out at the world that your head is making for you. From signals you're getting from your eyes and your skin and your sense of smell and your ears, and you've got a perspective, and it's frozen to yours. So I can't see that one. All I can do is imagine that it's like mine, right? And yet we've proven that we can't know for sure if it is, because we can't do this kind of test in front of our eyes, right? We can't actually. We can't inhabit the world outside of our brains to find out if the perspectives are different.
It's just like neither of us cannot perceive exactly what Andrew is doing right now, but really he says that he's out going to an amusement park and enjoying himself today and all day tomorrow, and he's in somewhere in North Carolina. I can't tell you where. If I do that, then I'll be a target from him, because he'll be a target from other forces. So no, but joking aside, like he's out. He couldn't join us because he's going on a fun weekend trip. But where is he actually going? Is he actually going to be at the amusement park? I mean, I can't perceive. I can't read his mind. I can't be him. You can't be him. So whatever he is doing. Exactly. He could be on I mean, I hope it's a lazy river. I need some
Lazy
relaxing.
rivers are awesome.
I love lazy river. Either that or a rapid, one of them water rides where it's the rapids, but it's like a lazy river, but it's rapids. I love that.
Yep. Oh
It's
yeah,
not
no.
like not one of them
In
big ass slides.
in
It's
Kansas
just
City, they have this amusement park called Worlds of Fun, and that was where I would always go when I was a kid. In fact, one of the
well, we
coolest
had
things I ever got to do was my granddad was a pilot, and he had a small plane like a Cessna for like 6-seater, and he
mm,
took me and my sister to Worlds of Fun in one day from Waukene and back again. And
that's awesome.
Waukene, people can know where that is because no one's going to go visit it. And if they did, they wouldn't find me there because I've been long gone, and my family would probably be able to figure out who they were if you asked around. But it's a little town. It's about a 5-hour drive from Kansas City on Interstate 70, and you can fly that in like an hour or two. It's incredible,
Hmm.
actually. So you can go and hit up an amusement park in one day. I don't know why I told that story, um, but yeah, they had this awesome lazy river ride called Fury of the Nile, and it was like it wasn't
Hmm.
really a lazy river so much as it was rapids plus lazy river. So you go through a
Yeah.
lazy river section, and then all of a sudden you'd be in the rapid section. They had these gouts of water shooting up. It was fantastic.
Yep. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That's the ride. I forget what it's called, but that's the ride that Kings Island has up in Mason. They have a little, yeah. They still have it. They better have it. It's one of the best rides in my opinion. Just like a little rapid, just go around the circle, but you have little splashes of waves for the rapids, and
Mhm.
some of them you'll just get doused. Yeah, especially when you go down a little bit, and I mean, it's fun. It's great.
Yeah.
So
So we can picture that he might be on a ride like that, but we can't know. That's an
he's on
interesting
the
thing.
carousel. Don't.
Probably.
He's
Yep.
on a
He
carousel.
he found the creepiest
Bastard.
horse on the carousel, and he's
Oh,
just
I'm
repeatedly
sure he
riding it.
did. He's the
Yep.
one that finds the creepiest horse. I'm the one that finds the booth chairs. I'll just sit there. That way you're protected. I'm old. I'm old and large now. When I was a child, I'd want a chair. I would want the car or the pony or whatever.
I was always trying to do the thing that nobody would ever let you do, which was just like stand there and watch all the other ones from the ground, like the
Hmm.
spinning platform. I always wanted to just stand on that and go around in circles, and they never let me.
Hmm. That's the best part. You don't hang on.
Hmm.
You're like, you need to hang on to something and sit. No, I'm standing. I remember
Yep.
being a kid.
Let it fling
I
me
remember
off.
being a kid, and I remember being terrified of the carousel.
My favorite was always
The
bumper cars.
carousel, man.
Dude, carousels are kind of fucking creepy.
They are pretty
They
creepy.
really
I
are.
think
They like mess
I
with
was
you.
more terrified of the spinning. I wasn't terrified of the ponies or anything.
I think the frozen looks on their faces are alarming, frankly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like they look mid action, but they're frozen. It's almost like they have no ontology.
Mm, they have no purpose. They have a purpose for
What does
kids to
ontology
climb
really
off.
do for us is an interesting question. Like what is it about ontologies that are powerful? What do we like about knowing structure?
I mean, for me to answer, I strive to understand exactly what the purpose that we are on this life. What is it that makes us tick? Why do our behaviors mimic a certain way? Why do we choose the way that we choose? And I think that when it comes down to it, we're centerfold. There is a centralizing force that just it tries to enforce the opposite of what we typically want to do, and that's where I mean free will is true in its ontological approach, because your will, no matter how much you rebel and try to do your own thing, there's something that's trying to pull you, something out of the cosmos. You can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it an energy field, I don't care, but it's something that's trying to pull you to where your will has to align with that will.
Yeah.
It's almost like, if I mean, that's like the perfection, that's the rest. Like when we're not aligned with, when we're not like this with that other imposing will, then we're kind of crumpled. We're out here by ourselves, crumpling and
It
just
distorts
shrinking and
us.
disintegrating. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it
that's
does. It
exactly.
does distort us.
Well, that's
That's
exactly
why.
interestingly. Yeah, go ahead. You're gonna say that's why.
I mean, that's the reason why. Like when somebody has all the money in the world, they're very successful, but they're not pulled to something more than just chasing after the dollar or chasing after the prestige. People that have means usually are not the happiest. Now they may perceive themselves as being happy.
Yeah.
Um, that's fine and dandy, but they're not
Right.
actually happy. They're miserable. Like the old
Right.
saying is, it's like, this is an Immortal Technique song. I'd rather be broke and miserable than rich and unhappy. And he's kind of got a point in there, because when you're broke, are you really miserable? Because you find
Right.
things that are beyond the limitations of the wealth. So like if you're
Right.
broke, yes, you're miserable in this, in you're unhappy in the standard of not having much material, but you might
Right.
have a very large family that comes together every holiday. Whereas you have everything, you kind of isolate yourself from everybody, because everybody
Yeah.
wants what you have. So they
Right.
just come for favors, they come for money, and you make the money
Which
and you're giving, but you're not receiving, or you're
right.
just keeping and not even giving anything. I mean,
Right. Which suggests to me that that there's probably a third road, right? Like there's probably a way to see things that recognize the difference between uncomfort and unhappiness. Because comfort can bring you happiness. Yeah, it can make you, it can set up the conditions for happiness, but it can't
hmm
make you happy. Um,
yeah.
so whether or not you are watching this and you've got a lot of money, or you're watching this and you don't, right?
If
Um,
you have a lot of money, you can give it to us.
you could. It's an option. Um, but like, it doesn't mean you're unhappy if you have a lot of money, but it doesn't mean you're happy
hmm
either.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
that's just that goes with like any type of relationship either. I mean, relationships make us whole. That's the reason why, biblically speaking, man and woman come together and become one flesh, not just in the physical sense. Obviously, there is that. They're in the sexual nature of the marital act, but you literally are coming together. The man gives and the woman receives, but on a spiritual level, on a metaphysical level, a metaphorical level, like there's an intimacy factor. And
Yeah.
when you're missing that piece, that's why the life that we live in, and why actually the younger generations are starting to, you're starting to see, surprisingly, at least I am in my realm, more Gen Z are actually clicking together and trying to build something
Yeah.
their little girlfriend. They're trying to actually be more than just a fuck buddy, and
Right.
because there's something missing when you're just chasing tail,
Right.
and
That's
it's all
not
about casual
the same
sex.
thing. Like you won't be able to find love that
hmm
way, right? You won't be able
No.
to build and you, people say find love, but I think that maybe a better way to frame love is that you build it.
hmm
You know, it's more of well, the way that because chronotopology, right, like tries to answer everything from a derivation, right? The way that it looks at
hmm
love is actually pretty instructive. I wouldn't say that this frame has all that that concept has baked into it, right?
hmm
Because it has origins uh, that stem from before it and before any science, right? Um, but the way that that said, the way that chronotopology looks at it is it's a uniquely human risk that we take when we open ourselves up to somebody else that much. But it also
hmm
gives us the ability to reach futures that we couldn't have reached alone, right? If we are truly helping the other person without consuming them, without making them into ourselves, because it's not that you have, I think, a missing piece that turns you into one being, right? You complete each other in a way, but you are also
hmm
still separate. And if you're not still separate, then you can't complete each other that way. right?
Exactly.
Because if you're just mashed into a toxic sort of unhealthy codependence, it's just not the same thing. It demands to take as much as it gives you.
Are you saying that there's a difference between cohabitating with your girlfriend and actual marriage?
I am.
Mm.
And I can speak to that really honestly too, because I just cohabited with my wife now for like 10 years, right? And then we got married. And that happened recently. But and I didn't know, because I'd only been married once before and it didn't work out. I didn't know if it was going to change anything, and if that change was going to be positive or negative or what, right? I wasn't entirely sure whether or not the ceremonial act of creating that union was going to strengthen us or weaken us, because the first time I encountered it, it took a thing that should have ended and made it end more quickly. And I think that was the trepidation that kept it 10 years long of waiting before I did it. But when we finally did it, it did change things, and it changed things in a way that was really positive, right? So you can't pretend that you have love, I don't think, and have it work. I think that you actually have to have it for it to work. But if you have it, then doing that ceremonial act of pledging yourself to a person, it really does make a difference. One that even after 10 years of living with a partner who is, for all intents and functional purposes, the best other half I could ask for, that little act of ceremony changed a lot of stuff in a way that made it somehow better. And I didn't see it coming. I thought things were just going to stay the same.
Well, yeah, I think
at least the same, I guess, and instead they got better, which was pretty cool.
I think
because it was already.
I think that's where society is. It graces, it traverses away from the audacity of what true love really means. Love is ever flowing throughout the universe. The universe is love. I mean, it's a divine love or an eternal love or some type of love that we don't understand, and it pulls us together. But I think when you get outside the box and think too secularly, too liberally, too libertarian, you end up considering everything as a contractual basis, to where everything is transactional with an exchange. And so what I give, I must receive back. Everything is reciprocated, and that's not really what love is. Love is whole, because when you come together, you're coming together to complete one another as partners. You're a partner. You're man and wife, but you're a partner more so than anything. You're business partners, but you're also best friends. So you're lovers, but you're also best friends. So you have to have that friendship in order to have that, and that fellowship in order to have the relationship, and then it all comes together.
Well, and that's why it's such a strong cornerstone for family, right? Because it's more than just a contractual partnership. It's a contractual partnership in a way, but if it doesn't ever go beyond that, it doesn't do what it says on the tin, it has to be more than that. And to understand that, for anybody watching who hasn't found that yet, you have to experience it, right? It's not something that you have to understand first before you find it. I think
it's not about it's not about chase it tail, and honestly, society would have it, and I think we're starting to see a glimpse that this doesn't work. But I know
maybe a little more than
the same. Yeah, you probably understand this more so than me, being a little older, and actually growing up in the 90s, where I was a child in the 90s. But from my perspective, it seems like as a teenager and going into my young adult years of being in my 20s and all that, we have this concept, this social concept of being friend zoned, and it's a bad thing. But in reality,
that's how you start building a relationship.
Exactly.
Like that.
Exactly. The friendship is how you build a relation.
If you're being friend zoned, you're actually being tested to see if you might make a good spouse someday.
Exactly. And in our
categorized
today,
positively, actually.
Yeah, but in our culture today, we're so rushed into thinking that like sex means everything
Right.
that I mean, you gotta get laid. I mean, if you're friend zone, you're friend zone, and so you're the loser. But in reality, are you really the loser?
No,
Because
you're the winner.
the friend is gonna probably be the one that marries her. Now, I
Right.
mean, honestly, there's a
The
lot of
one that's
girls out
still
there that,
there, right?
yeah,
Building relationship with
hmm
them, even when they're, doing stuff that you disagree with less than
hmm
savory men.
hmm
Those men don't stick around, you know.
no,
They always
no,
vanish. That's the cool part about it is like, and
yeah,
that's the kind of the lame part about the dramas that show it as like this bad thing, you know.
hmm
Um, there's a lot
you
of,
got my.
I don't, have you seen oh, is it Obsession? It's a new horror film.
Mm-mm. I
It's
haven't really seen new movies in a long time, dude.
so
I
this
might
one's
have, yeah,
interesting. The setup
I'll
is
have
this
to
guy
see it.
goes into a witch shop and picks up something called a one wish willow, which if you break it in half, you get your one wish, and then it happens, right? And the
hmm
setup is this thing's actually real, and you can just keep buying them, but you can't have more than one wish. You can maybe try to get your friends to use it for different reasons, but let's say you're in the friend zone and you're like, I wish this person loved me, right?
Mm,
It shows what happens when someone who doesn't actually love you becomes obsessed with you.
hmm
That was the whole
Yeah,
setup, right? Like, and by
yeah,
the end of the film, you're just staring aghast at what happened because this guy tried to force something that just wasn't there, um, and
yep.
then figured it out as he got what he wanted, right? Like, we're
hmm
very lucky we can't have wishes granted
Makes,
because
yeah.
if we could, we'd all make bad ones, and then we'd be stuck with them.
Well, if we all could, then our one and only wish with Genie would have been, I wish to have all the wishes. Then we have unlimited wishes, and then you're gonna wish, I wish that I could fuck you, Genie. Fuck me.
Hmm. Oh
Who
my god!
wouldn't? Who
Right?
wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to fuck Jeannie? Yeah, man.
I mean,
She was hot, dude.
if you're talking about I Dream of Jeannie, then yeah.
I dream of Jeannie. Yeah.
Okay, because whenever anyone says genie, I recall immediately
Oh,
the blue Aladdin guy.
Robin. Who wouldn't
Like,
want to fuck Robin Williams?
I mean, he could
I
turn into
wish.
something else. He could turn into something
Mm,
else, but no, thank you.
Jeannie. I wish
I wish my
to
monkey
have.
was in fact a woman. No.
I wish Monkey was a woman. Abu. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Well, I mean, it would have
Yaga.
solved the jealousy problem that he was having
Mm,
with the monkey for the whole thing. It was,
mm. The
oh,
monkey,
Aladdin.
Abu was jealous of everything. Abu was jealous of the carpet. It's like, come on, Abu. The magic carpet is a transport.
Right. It's
All right,
literally like a
carpet
friend
knows.
you can ride. Why
Yeah,
don't you just hop on?
yeah. Listen to the Toy Story song, man. You got a
Yep.
friend in me.
Yep.
Speaking of that, Toy
Yeah,
Story
that
5
monkey
is
had
out.
a toxic codependent relationship with Aladdin.
Mm.
Oh,
Which is entire. I haven't seen it yet. And I heard mixed reviews on what Toy Story 5, probably because they just made too many of them.
yeah.
But like that's the thing. That's the general theme from what I heard of what Toy Story 5 is now. Is like it's actually illuminating the toxicity of like what social media is and all this tech that we've kind of enamored ourselves around, and we've not grown with it. We've become it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I
That's
think
something
that's what the general theme.
that I hope with Chronopump Labs as we get going, we can do a little different, right? Like, one thing that bothers me about the way technology is pushed on people today is that it doesn't recognize them as, as agents, as free people, as minds of their own value, right?
Mm-mm.
So you end up with you have to, if you want to use AI productively rather than just be told what to think by the establishment, right? You have to learn
Yeah.
how to set it up first so that it tells
Mhm.
you the kind of information you're looking for, as opposed to the kind of information you think you're looking for when you start.
Mhm.
That's one of the traps, I think, of ontology is that if we become too certain about what it is, that we end up allowing others to make choices for us. A really good example is like this whole hullabaloo about voting rights and voter ID and all this stuff, right? People have this idea in their heads about what a vote means, when in reality, maybe the right answer is something crazy that nobody's ever thought of. Like, I wrote a satire piece that talked about it like this: what if voting was, instead of proof of person, what if it was proof of work? What if the right to vote extended to everyone such that you could vote as many times as you wanted, and that if you could figure out a way to do it cleverly, where like you find a database error that returns the integer maximum when you scan the QR code and it generates 40 million votes, you can do that. And if we give everybody the free for all right, then it becomes a competition, a national hackathon, where whoever gets the most votes for their side, whether they convince other people to do it or they do it themselves with clever automation, right? That's who wins. And your voting rights are therefore unlimited.
See, that's where Lysander Spinner is both correct in his assertion of his assertion of what voting has become. It's just violence. It's just preying on each other.
It's not even that anymore. Now it's like the last step in a mechanical process that's already been decided for you.
And I think that's where he was stepping on. But then he's also wrong on the fact that voting could be used as a tool for a better society if we actually focus. This is the practicing Catholic in me now. When I look at the political realm, because we are not of this world. We have to live in this world. And so if we're going to live in this world and we're going to use systems in order to establish authorities that can be aligned with God's authority in order to steward this world, you are going to have to kind of utilize certain things that you may not technically believe in. So when I look at voting, I think like exactly that, the proof of work analogy. And what's better than a proof of work than to focus on issues rather than people and their slogans. So like as a Catholic, you should be looking at the political structure of who and what are the issues that protect the sanctity and the dignity of life. So your two major voting issues is how do we get rid of abortion, and how do we write society into an element to where we actually treat life as what it is, a gift and a grace of God, rather than just depraved lifestyle and doing whatever we damn well please, and
which it's a leads line, to because we can't just be Islam about it, right? Like we can't just set up a caliphate and force people to be it. That's not the same thing as convincing them to do it. So and the trouble,
we kind of tried to do that with the feudal systems, which have great aspects to it and great decentralizing factors, but then what happens when you get a bad noble that just wants to run things like their own king? They're running their fiefdom like their own king, and then they're disobeying the king, and then the king is disobeying the papal authority in the church and going against church teaching, and then you just have chaos. So like the decentralizing factor of feudalism is great, and people have the ability of mobilization, while rare, to gain their freedom and be mobile about society and actually interacting outside of being a peasant serf. But what happens?
I mean, can you really be good? Can you really be good and be said to have led a good life if you're never offered the choice to do the wrong thing and the right thing at the same time, right? Like if you build a civilization that structures it in such a way that you can never make bad choices, then you're basically building a civilization that says you may not choose your path, and that's also an affront to what we know we've been given in this life. The gift that we've been given by living suggests that the point is the fact that we have to choose.
That's like the fallacy of that's like the fallacy of this Christian nationalist movement that's here in the West, predominantly like aspirated through the online red pill lens of social media more so than anything. I mean, it's kind of getting it mainstream more, but I mean, the Christian nationalist idea, it has less to do with Christianity and more to do with we need to enforce structures of
Right.
an expanded state, be Islamic about it, relatively speaking,
Right.
and enforce people to be good. But in reality, like how if you're forced to do something good, human
Right.
beings are going to rebel in it, period,
Right.
because
And
they
it
don't want
also
to be forced.
elevates. Right. And that also elevates the exerciser of force, the instruments of the state, to
Mhm.
standing on par with God, which is not how we can do it. Right. Like we're not allowed to claim we know with that kind of exactness in a
Mhm.
way that lets us just bluntly enforce it. Right. That's not
Mhm.
an answer. That's no answer that's any better than one that says it's a free for all. We don't have any standards. Right. So
It's the parable of the sower. I
yeah,
mean, those yeah,
exactly.
the seed that's going to be grown on the rocky road is not going to have full understanding and eventual and of anything. And I mean, if you are the seed on the rocky road, you're eventually going to wither away, and you're just a weed. I
Mhm.
mean, you may get the grasp of certain things, but you don't have the fullness of that understanding. So how can you live it? You'll eventually
Right.
wither away. The seed that gets planted in the thicket of thorns. I mean, you're it's hard to bear any fruit to that. I mean, so
Right. If you
because
grow
you're being
someplace where nobody else can
trapped.
benefit from what
Yeah,
you build, then
yeah.
you might as well be dead, right? Because if
Hmm.
you're unreachable inside that little
Yep.
fortress, then it doesn't matter if you've grown the greatest fruit known to man in history, right? Like it's inaccessible.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Or you can be in the rich soil, and and that's where things can get cultivated and harvested, and you have all the fruits, all the vegetables known to man.
right.
The harvest is
Flourishing
good.
plus
Yeah.
interrelation.
Hmm.
And to suggest that there can be a concept of flourishing that doesn't involve interrelation is it was always the point to me of that parable. Like it said, you know, only in places where you can share growth is growth
Hmm.
meaningful.
I mean, that's human beings in general, and what we need to be and what we want to be really is like we want to be loved while at the same time acknowledging that we have to love in order to be loved. So like
Right.
if you can't give, you can't receive. So like
Right.
if you have a large plot of farmland and you're a commercial farmer, the aspect is you need to have this successful harvest so that you can have a successful marketing season to sell to the vendors and the wholesalers and the stores, to be able to sell that produce to the abundance of everybody within the society, within
Right.
the
To
community.
ultimately feed others.
So
Right.
so you're feeding others. So like yeah, the commercial farmer is feeding the world quite literally. And especially in today's standards, they're quite literally like America's farmers is feeding China, and China farmers is feeding America, and South America's feeding everybody. So like we're
That's
all
all
an
quite the mess.
interweb of yeah, it's a very messy situation
Yeah.
because when you're getting away from that aspect of giving to receive, and you start forcing the issue that we need to do this for a margin, for a bottom line, then you start getting away from the reciprocation of
Right.
what
And
community is really about, which is
right.
giving
And
and receiving
yeah,
and
at a
receiving
fundamental
and
level,
giving.
right, that love can't be given with expectation of return. That
Hmm.
the only kind of love that really exists is the kind that you
Hmm.
give freely without thought of reward.
Ludwig von
Uh,
Mises would agree on the localized level with human action. I think
yeah,
his idea of human action, his praxeology, and his free market strategy is fundamental for the locale and the community, the family, of course, with the locale and the community,
yeah,
because I think the free market is so enfolding upon on itself. The market is free in its exchange, in its production, and its cooperation. But the more that you expand on it, you have to have parameters that kind of guard. So if we're going to be a global market, you can't be a fully free market.
Well, and
You
he
can't
never
be a
would
full,
have
you can't
been
be a socialist market though,
right.
because
And
that's
he never would have been a fan of the idea of a global market. He would have been a fan of a global marketplace of marketplaces, right? Probably a global marketplace of regional marketplace of local marketplaces. If you wanted to be, really Misesian about it. Because the really interesting thing about his view of Austrian economics is that it wasn't an ideology.
no.
To him, it was a
But,
derivation, right?
mhm,
And he began with the idea that only human beings ever act. Even if we talk about structures as acting, it's always people. It's always,
yeah.
ultimately, the reason that the IRS can be good or bad, right, in how it goes about its
Mhm,
business has to do with the fact that the individual people who go out and do that work do it
mhm,
well or do it poorly, right?
mhm,
And whether or not one agrees with coercive tax, is beside the point. Because the point that he was making wasn't that that free markets are good and therefore we must regard individuals as the locus. What he was
mhm.
pointing out was simply the fact that all action stems from an actor.
Yeah,
um,
Mises in that retrospect echoes Jesus and not falling for the trap. I mean, render upon the Caesar what is Caesar's and render what is God's God's. You
right,
are God's. You are God's position. You were created
right,
for an action of love in correlation with His will aligned with your will. You are
right,
meant to love. And so that's what Mises was getting at is like you are meant to act and interact and cooperate with each
right,
other for the benefit of each other.
right,
And I think that's where the falter of libertarianism is when using Austrian economics and its school of thought, they falter into like Rothbard ventured away from too
right,
much radical individuation, just like Hayek went too far onto accepting compromise with centralized structures. So I'm all for having something set weight for maybe a social safety net, Hayek,
right.
but you can't outsource it to a large structure such as a government that's
Right.
overbearing. I
Its
mean, when you
ontology
do,
matters
yeah,
because whatever structure you set up can't interrupt the natural order of the assumption that humans must act and nobody else can,
hmm
right?
hmm
Like it's
yeah,
animals to a limited degree and children to a limited degree still have the ability to act, but the adult mature human mind is the paragon of action, right? Like the only actor that can act in a way that comports with a shared belief, I think. And I think that's what distinguishes it. It's not so much uh, that action is the root of it, but it's that we can act with a shared point of view, and that doesn't have to be forced. And that if you try to force that, it distorts it.
hmm
You know?
I think, yeah, the distortion is going away from the aspect that all value is subjective in our eyes because what exactly is valuable? I think
Mm-hmm.
life in itself is valuable, but do we really care about the gold or the silver or the bronze or the
Right.
crypto or the paper
What one
money? It's like,
specifically values
yeah,
is the only definition of value with any meaning. Right? It's
exactly.
the only one that connects to your ontology. And so you can't get your idea of value from outside yourself.
Mm-mm.
You
Yeah.
might be able to steer yourself towards what things might be worth valuing by learning
hmm
from others. But ultimately, it comes down to your choice. And that is, that's the challenge that life places before us that God demands of us, right? That we
hmm
choose because the
hmm
world always gets a choice too. And if you do nothing, it's a choice.
I think that's the objective reality, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
The objective truth is the fact that we have the only thing that's relative is our choice and what we value. Now, do we
Mm-hmm.
value more than just ourselves? If we're selfish, then we're going to choose material aspects that really have no meaning but this life and only this life for instant gratification. I mean, and then we fall into an unhappiness because how do you, and this ties back in the Spooner, vices are not crimes, because everybody's trying to look for happiness, but
Hmm.
a lot of times we end up looking for happiness through a vicious cycle of doing harm to ourselves.
Right.
So vices are not crimes for the simple fact that we're not harming anybody but ourselves, but at the same time, we are harming our soul because
Right.
we're linking happiness to something that isn't really
Right. To
fulfilling.
physical comfort. Right. It's when you tie
Physical comfort.
happiness. It's when you tie happiness to feeling good, to feeling satisfied, to feeling comfortable. Right. That's
Hmm.
not what happiness is. Happiness is not. Well, you can't describe happiness as a noun, really, right? Like
Hmm.
you
I
nounify
can,
happy or feeling
yeah.
happy by saying happiness as a concept, but in
I
reality,
mean, I can
it's
stick a
not
needle in my
ontological.
arm right now. I can stick a needle in my arm right now, do a bunch of dope, and I will feel the happiest ever. It will be the greatest sensation, because especially with that first hit of heroin, it'd be the
Yeah,
greatest sensation. But where's the what about after the after effects? Now I
right,
want to chase that sensation. This is why addiction occurs, is because you think you have found something that is escaping the ills of and the dreads of life. You're falling into something that makes you feel good, but the second hit is not going to be the same, so it goes up.
right.
You start
Because
chasing.
your brain will not let you mistake comfort for happiness more than once.
Hmm. Hmm. That's why
But at the
people
same time, it's a
overdose.
trap because vice locally feels like a move that makes you happier, and then
Hmm.
globally ends up destroying you. That's the danger of it, right? But it's also why you can't teach people to avoid it by outlawing it.
No.
All that does is reinforce it, which is
Hmm.
weird because you would think that outlawing a thing would make it happen less. But it may well be that in many cases, the act of outlawing a thing is what reinforces it and locks it in, right? It makes it
Mm.
structural. Um,
Whereas if you let it be and just let a market basically occur, then you will actually see a decrease in people chasing those vices. I
well, and
mean,
if we want to help
not to
people
say, hmm
escape vice, I feel like what we have to do is connect with them, right? Like
hmm
rather than try to fix them, to give them other outlets for exploration that make a
hmm
different kind of happiness possible, right? When
hmm
you have choices other than another hit, right? Uh,
hmm
that that's when that's when you can plausibly choose not to,
hmm
and that comes from not people coming in with judgment and a brandished sword, so to speak, or a drawn gun, right?
hmm
It's when people come in open-handed and say like, you don't have to do that anymore. There's another way. You can come with me instead. We can go do something else, right? Um, that that can change things, but it's also a harder road. It's really hard to organize a society around that kind of care. That's, I think, ultimately what Christianity has done for the West for as long as we've
hmm
honored it.
hmm
And then that's why I think learning from history, learning from the times when we, as a civilization, were the healthiest, how we addressed vice at that point, can probably teach us more than how we started doing it in the 1980s.
hmm
Where we isolate and alienate people when they dip into it.
Yeah. Whereas, I mean, as much as like I don't agree much with like Alcoholic or Narcotics Anonymous in the way that they perceive things, I think they go a little bit too
It's
personal
coercive.
and too societal. And the 12-step program, it can be, they don't focus on how the individual, it is more
Mhm.
collective in the group, which is great, but it's a good motion. It's good for the person to be with those that are having the same issues, because we all have
Mhm.
issues. We can come together, you can build a community, and you can actually experience what others have experienced, and
Yeah.
vice versa, and you can come together and grow in fellowship,
Right.
friendship, and build loyalty with each other, and you you learn to help each other. And I think that's
Mhm.
the aspect of AA, is it's
That's
not
the good
the
part of it.
fact,
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah, it's not the aspect of the 12 step, and you got to go through all these different logs of different details of trying to
Mhm.
be trying to get back on track. It's not. It's about knowing people that have their own issues and realizing that we all have our own issues, and then
Mhm.
making a friendship out of those issues, and then now you can support each other because friends support each other.
Right, because you've got a better place to go than chasing the next high.
Hmm.
But I think one of the things that breaks it down into a more dangerous system is the fact that some people are there because they arrive there, because they show up, because they come to that place because they feel like they're losing something, and then other people show up there because they don't have any choice between that and going to jail.
Hmm.
And those tend to be the people who aren't very successful with it.
Hmm.
The failure rate may, in large part, be accountable for itself in terms of how many people are coerced into going.
Hmm.
Because if it
And I think
doesn't
that's
feel if it
where.
doesn't feel like a new choice, then it feels like a closed path, and
Hmm.
that's what drives people back to their old ways.
Yeah, sadly, and I think the fact is we think our society thinks more juridical in the penitent rather than taking the penitent and letting them understand. So like some individual, and you can't think completely individual, but you can't think completely collective.
Right.
You have to have a
Justice is there to
balance.
protect civilization,
Hmm.
not
Yes.
save people from themselves.
I mean, justice. You can't have justice without being merciful, and you can't have mercy without justice. If you're too merciful, where's the justice? And if you're too juridical, then where's the mercy? So, like some people may have to hit rock bottom before they realize, oh, I fucked up. I need to get out of this. I need to. How do I get out of this? How do I actually do something right with my life,
Yeah.
and actually build upon something and make something positive? But then another person may hit rock bottom and actually be crushed. So
Yeah.
you can't, yeah, there has to be a balance. So how do we get
Right.
people in jail to understand that perhaps maybe the jail isn't for them? Perhaps
Yeah.
maybe it's programs. Perhaps maybe it's lending them support.
Right.
Perhaps yeah. So
Well,
if
maybe the right answer is every addict should be, so long as they go to their meetings, granted access to a new line of business loan. Like,
oh yeah,
um,
yeah,
it, I watched this TED talk once where this guy who recovered from the worst addiction you could possibly imagine described, right? Like he went through all the stuff that happened to him because of what he was doing to himself, and then you know turned the talk and said, I took all these lessons from my recovery and put it into business practice. And
mm-hmm,
then he talked about this situation where they worked really hard to meet a goal for a customer and they couldn't, right? And and he was just crushed, almost driven back to drink. And then he showed up instead and said, "Look, we didn't succeed. Here's how far we got. Here's what's left to do. We failed.
mm-hmm,
How can we make it right?" And they were like, "You didn't fail. You did more than anybody else we ever hired. That's amazing. The fact that you call this a failure." Right. And he
mm-hmm,
was blown away by the fact that it was in his own head that he was being hard on himself in a way that he hadn't seen before, and that it was actually the virtuous action of admitting that they hadn't succeeded in what they originally promised that revealed the character of the person and the business they built. Right. To me, that is actually pretty amazing. It suggests to me that maybe when we have like rehab interventions and stuff like that, what we ought to have is not just one person going, but the whole family going together.
mm-hmm.
You know,
Some form of rehab or education setting.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, but how would we do that though? That's the thing. How do we structure our society to be able to do that?
Maybe one person at a time. You know,
Yeah.
has anybody ever really talked to a person in prison? You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I have, because
Mm-hmm.
I did this clinic in law school, right? Like where
Mm-hmm.
we had to try to get somebody post conviction relief, and in order to do that,
Mm-hmm.
you had to talk to them, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
go to the place that they live and you sit down with them and you talk to him, you realize this is a person, right? Just a person. They may have made some stupid choices, but it's just another human, right? Just like you sitting across from me at this table. And when you get to meet them and know them, you start to care about their cause in a way that you couldn't by just reading the file.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like whatever solution we have has to be local. It has to be person to person. It can't just be like a system that we slap a satisfactory version number on and then let run in the background.
Mm-hmm. Just because somebody did something wrong, doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. I mean, a lot of times it could be as little as they're doing things right and trying to live their life right. They provide for their family, but that one time they go out with their friends to hang out, and and their crowd that they're with is just probably not socially acceptable. Yeah, it's probably not a good crowd for them to be with, but you get a little messed up. Maybe you drink a little too much out and about. Somebody in the midst of drinking, someone breaks out some cocaine, and then you just start, or maybe even PCP. That's even
right.
worse.
It can be like the movie The Hangover, where this person wakes up in jail and has no idea that they like went on a barn burner through the town, and everyone that they see on the street every day is pissed off at them now. They might not even remember. And then there are definitely, like, we have to acknowledge the other side, right? There's wolves out there too, people who are not safe to be in civilization. Anyone who hates the civilization, who wants to see it fail. Those people are not. Yeah, well, I mean, pedophiles, for example. Not even pedophiles. People who engage in the act of pedophilia. You don't have to like it even to commit that evil. Sometimes you're just coerced politically, right? Like, there's got to be like just because we can imagine the concept, it's easy to see the idea that if you want to get control over a power group, that you first subject them to something that, if it were exposed, would ruin them. And then you tell them, toe the line, right? Or we ruin you. I don't know if that's because the people at the top were already pedophiles and they enjoy it, or just because they recognize the fact that the horrendous act is a political lever that they would like to have. Whatever the case that instigates that evil, the act is ultimately the problem. Like, there are probably people who rightly go into the priesthood and disappear into a monastery forever because they should never be around a child, right? Those people are pedophiles, but they're doing the best they can. There can be good people who have that affliction. The problem is the people who do the act, especially the people who do the act with no remorse, that just consume it like it's a drug. Those are the people that we can't just have in society, just out there. And that's why this is one example, right? There are people who revel in murder, who revel in animal abuse, who revel in things that are just evil. We can't forget that they're there, but we also can't pretend like everybody in the prison is those types of people.
I mean,
it's usually like a handful coupled with a bunch of people who like got in there for reasons that could probably be handled better.
Like a murderer. I mean, most murder occurs through an instant passion, and most people aren't going to kill again. It was a moment of anger that got a hold of them. They exploded it. Typically it's of some sort of passionate consequence. I mean, and they deserve their consequences, but does every murderer deserve to be in prison for life? Just like does every murderer need to be put to death? I mean, that's the question. Like, how do we figure out the balance of what equates towards this murderer to be put away forever? Is there a chance that he could actually come back out into society, be rehabilitated, understand that he did wrong, and actually be productive in society?
Right.
There are people like that.
It raises a question, like, productive in society. Well, what do we mean by atonement when we say that? Like, what do you have to give back in order to really be forgiven, not by God, but by civilization? Right. And I think the answer to that myself is that if you've taken something from the world, like another person, then you now have a burden to be two people giving to civilization. If you really want to make it right, so like you have to not just make amends by serving time. You have to become extraordinary. You have to live for the paths that you cut off from civilization by taking someone from it. And that would be a challenge to build as a system, but it would be a system that would be worthy of calling justice, I think.
I
don't know how to do it, but it would be cool if we tried, rather than just sticking with a thing that pretends like it's doing justice because it has a mill running and there are numbers associated with it.
I mean, murder is one thing, because murder, we could probably honestly think about an assessment of how do we genuinely separate the sheep from the goats when it comes to the crime of murder, who did it in a state that was beyond their mind, and who did it where they're just sadistic and evil and wanted to kill. When it comes to sexual crime too.
I feel like juries are actually a pretty good model, because they get a sense of what a person isn't saying, and they get a sense of the way a person is just by watching them. Like I sat through a trial once back in the summer of 2009 when I was in law school, and that trial was incredible because I sat on the defense side, and I genuinely believed in the innocence of the guy we were defending, but he still went away, right? The jury that they brought in may or may not have been the best choice from the standpoint of the defense, but the people in this town just wanted this guy to go. They had a sense that he wasn't good. And sometimes that doesn't work out as justice in the sense of literal physical justice, but it's way better than, I think, deciding from afar, right? From someplace like DC, what the local penalty for murder needs to be, and how jury trials must be conducted, and what advantages you can give to the defense and what advantages you can't give them. That kind of stuff takes away the locality or locality's ability to interpret. If you don't have ultimate discretion in the hands of the local judge presiding over the trial and the jury's decision, then you've distorted the thing again, right? You've tried to command justice into existence from another place, and it doesn't work like that, right? The places.
That's why I kind of
justice is done.
That's why I kind of like the general aspect of being able to move a trial from one jurisdiction to another through a motion, because sometimes you may have to, in order to get a fair trial with a reasonably fair jury, you may have to move your defendant elsewhere.
Well, and that was interestingly in the case that I watched, the mistake that I think the lawyer who I was sitting next to, who hired me as an intern, made, right? Because he insisted on a change of venue out of the town, but the only way the prosecutor would agree to it without a fight was if they got to bring the jury in from that town. So they still brought the jury in from the town they moved the trial from, which if they pulled it locally, wouldn't have carried the baggage that this person had with them. He had a lot of local baggage.
Yeah.
You live in a place for a while, people get an impression of you. And, maybe that was the impression that they intended for jurors to have of you when you went before the judge. But the part of me that wants it to be impartial suggests otherwise. Although
would it be more impartial for most trials to be a bench trial, or would it be better to have the jury? That's the question.
Sometimes, as a person who at one point in life tried to practice law and hated it so much he left, that question was always very specific. It always to me came down to the case. Sometimes I always thought that you want complex stuff in front of the judge and straightforward stuff in front of juries if you really wanted the right outcome, right? Like if the question is mostly, is this a crime? In the definition of the crime, like did they do a series of acts that fit? And it's like, it's not a perfect match, let's say, good example might be a law that says you promulgated misinformation, something stupid like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something where we might actually say there is no crime, and that to criminalize it is the problem. That's where I think a bench trial makes sense, right? Because then you're not pulling people into this frame and asking them to interpret the world through it. When, like, people coming into the jury room might not even understand why the law is what it is. Those are situations I think that are good for bench trials. But for jury trials, it was always like, if it's obvious, like, you're trying to show people pictures of a car accident scene or something, right? That's better, because you can give them something objective to hang on to.
So to go with Katie's here,
For sure.
there should be a balance. There should be a balance between a trial. So, and William's here driving, so concentrate on driving there, William. Be safe.
Yep.
I hope the day went well. But
me too.
But
by the way, anybody out there who's feeling like praying, give that man a prayer. Don't want to go into details. Just he needs some love right now.
Pray for William down there, for and his family and what they're going through, and pray for Dave as well. Old Dave Prime, technically Trek. I got Katie down here, so pray for him as well as he recovers. So he's had some medical scares and surgery, so pray for him in a speedy recovery. Hey, Katie, let the man do whatever he wants. No, be safe, William.
Yep.
This is a free country. It's like that 1980s commercial they cycle in as a meme. It's like, we used to be a proper free country, and now they just won't let you have a beer and get off work and have a beer and drive home. Like, I can't even drink a beer. It's like, dude, you probably shouldn't be drinking while you're driving, but you know what? To each their own.
Yep. Well, I mean, and now we got self-driving cars for some people, right? Like, if you're gonna drink and drive responsibly and let your car do it.
People don't even listen. They're not even going to listen to that. That was what Uber was initially for, and look what, dude, we have more DUIs now.
I still have an idea for that needs to happen, because we spend so much money on enforcement that what if we just Saturday and Sunday nights bought free Uber for people with that money instead? How many fewer people would die in car accidents? That's what I want to know.
Well, my fear is just the Uber driver is probably like fucked up anyways.
There's always that.
There's always that one that's just smoked a shit ton of weed and like railed a line of coke driving on the road. I'm just following the forest, guys. I had a friend of mine like that. He did. They dropped a bunch of cortisone, the cough medicine that makes you hallucinate.
Oh, so they were.
I don't think he was robo tripping. I don't believe that. I think he actually just threw it up. I don't think he actually took it. But he's sitting there driving correct. And me and my other buddy were in there, and he's messed up. Like, he literally, he had just came down off of it because he had to walk outside. We lost him for a while, and he was literally just behind the house and went up the levee. But we get into the car, and dude, we're just like, dude, how are you driving? How are you like not over the road? Like, what are you seeing? He's like, I'm just following the forest, dude. Follow the forest. Just go in a straight line and just follow the trees. It's like, oh God, the window. I'm like, what trees?
I guess that works.
I guess it works, man. But I don't think I'm gonna get in the car with you ever again.
No shit, that's terrible. Have you ever had that? Have you ever experienced the robo trip before? I did it to myself by accident once with Mucinex. Because fun fact, don't try this at home. The pill form of Mucinex that includes DM is exactly what you want to abuse if you're trying to abuse it. So please don't follow that advice. Don't snort dubby, but don't also accidentally take a second one if you forgot you took the first one, and then go to Walmart, because I can tell you that you will hear voices and it's unpleasant. Ugh, I did not have fun accidentally robo tripping.
No,
No.
I did it once, and when they wanted to do it for fun, I'm like, nah, I'm good, guys. I'm good.
It's like accidentally eating a hallucinogenic cactus, like it's not a fun trip.
No, it's not. To each their own on the psychedelic use, but I think it mainly maintains your personal, like, individual interpretation of everything. So, like, some people are gonna always have a good trip, some people might go too far, and some people are probably gonna have a very bad trip.
And some people are going to use it as really interesting medicine. Actually, I read this really cool story where this woman who was like late stage dementia was treated with psilocybin and came out of it to where, like, she hadn't spoken in 5 years and hadn't recognized her family in 6. And they gave her a dose of psilocybin, and she went through this trip and then came out of it and was talking to people and remembering them after, like, seriously 5 years of not even be able to utter a word. Pretty incredible.
That's what's brilliant about it. I mean, I've heard, like, they're trying to use psilocybin for people with PTSD as well, especially for veterans. I think there's definitely a medical correlation that you can use psilocybin or psilocybin, a silly bean. But yeah, there are definitely good things that, I mean, in a controlled setting with a significant amount that you're giving people through observation, you can definitely help people try to, like, collect their thoughts and, like, center everything and, like, heal, like, through their hallucinogenic psychedelic revelation. They can heal because, like, one of the aspects of cognitive behavioral therapy and Gestalt therapy, going in the psychology and the therapies, it's presenting somebody with their trauma so that they can heal from their trauma. And sometimes the only aspect of healing is not to forget it, it's to actually relive it so that you understand it's over now. You don't have to
and we're not ever in a position where we can erase the past. That is one thing that that I've learned through chronotopology is causal inheritance happens. What happens to you comes with you after you experience it, and there's nothing you can do to change it. You can't erase it. You can't make it disappear. Whether or not you know it's there, you have to address it. Yep, and
CBT made me worse. Yeah, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah, right. And I wouldn't suggest anybody engage in any course of any kind of psychological treatment, based on what you hear on the internet, right? Like, it's not necessarily for you, and the only way to find out is to decide for yourself. But but it makes the point that you were trying to make, I think.
Well, yeah, I think when it comes down to it, like, when it comes to psychology, I think that's where we're going wrong, because we're treating it as a full-on built, like, proposition of, like, true science, where psychology in itself is not a science. I mean,
it's a phenomenological science, which means you can't draw any assumptions about how the thing underneath it's actually working.
Exactly. Right? Like, it has to correspond with the physiological science, whereas you got to dive into neurology, neuroscience
in general. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to combine it. I mean, science is just the discovery of truth. I mean, trying to ascertain certain knowledges that we don't have a concept of. So you're trying to prove everything, and psychology can't really prove much.
Right.
But it can help.
Because it can't eliminate underlying difference, right? That's the key. And people think about, when you say that science is about proving things, this is true. The way that it does it, though, is by disproving all viable alternatives. So the act of doing science is about seeking disproof. even though the goal of science is to achieve proof. Yeah.
Meditation actually, and time alone and silence is actually the most healthiest thing that you could do, because
Yeah.
especially in this world, like, we're so busy and loud, and society wants to dictate that we need to, like, that's where the in my opinion, where secularism is trying to destroy Christianity, because you need the silence, you need to retreat, and you
Right.
need to be in a state of rest. Whereas, actually, my priest actually had a very, very awesome homily last weekend, pertaining towards rest and what rest really is. Rest isn't just being like lazy, but to rest in the simple, in just stepping back and
Right.
just
To quiet the
letting
voice in your
things
head
quiet.
and to
Yeah.
live in
Hmm.
reality as opposed to
Yeah.
narrate
Live
it.
in the live in the moment. Take the moment for what it is and just
Right.
rest.
Stop
Like,
trying to
don't.
tell
Yeah.
us. Stop trying to tell a story about what's happening with what happens.
Hmm. Whereas society right now wants us to be loud. They want everything. They want you to ignore the silence, and make you think that you need all this hustle and bustle.
Right.
You need the raging, screaming, and everybody with all their opinions just screaming at each other. It's like, that's not reality. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you need to shut up and calm down and
Right.
walk away.
Reminds me of that Family Guy sketch, right, where they're
Hmm.
making fun of people who write in public. Where the one
Hmm.
guy's sitting, he's like, "Yeah, posting up with my laptop, gonna write this great novel," and there's the other guy like, "Hey, are you a writer too?"
Hmm.
Yeah, obviously, I can't be a writer unless people are watching me write. Hey, I'll write something. You should write that down. Let me watch you, right? Like, you know, you don't have to put
It's
it
the
on
Truman
social
Show.
media for it to have happened.
Yeah, that's where, like, I love that we have all this technology with pictures, and you can take a picture or videotape. But sometimes you just, like, when you go on a vacation or you go out for a walk or you just go explore and experience something, sometimes the best thing is just to experience it and use
Yeah,
your own brain as the photography. You don't have to share everything
right.
for every moment. It's just like
Exactly.
these families that want to capture every moment of their children as they grow up, which is awesome, and they should. But then, like, with our social media age, they just put it all out in the public eye on
Mhm.
Facebook or whatever, or Instagram. It's like, no, why?
Right.
Why? I mean,
Yeah. When you spend all this time filming it, that it turns
mm,
into the life story, right? Like,
mm-hmm,
if the only thing you do is put it on camera or type it into text, then you're going to be interpreting the world through that lens all the time. And you're
yeah,
never going to stop and appreciate it, right?
mm-hmm.
You're never really going to experience it firsthand. You're going to
Sometimes,
you're going to
yeah,
throw
sometimes
that
it's,
firsthand
yeah.
impression into a cheap secondhand one for others.
If you're gonna have pictures and videotapes or DVDs or whatever, I mean, sometimes it's better to just put it all in a box and store it up in the attic or in a closet somewhere, and then
Yep.
you can get it out later on down the road and, like, open it up. Oh, a cassette tape. Or
Mhm.
maybe you digitalized it, whatever, and throw it in the VCR, and then you're like, then you experience the memory again, and you get to relive it more fulfilling, because, like, you already knew it happened. Now you're reliving it for yourself, and it's still that special moment. But
Right.
when you're just focused on, like, just sending it all out there, it's just, it
Well, and
loses its luster.
and here's a thought experiment too that's worth doing. Have you ever looked at the moon and been like, "That's amazing! It's so big," and then you have to take a photo of it, right? And you take a photo of it, and you look at the photo, and like, yeah, it's not at all like what I just experienced. Yeah, I do too. Um, good. Me too. I think that's
Yeah,
healthy.
it is
But like,
healthy.
have you ever tried to reconcile the difference between looking at the moon and looking at a photo you just took of it, realizing that it doesn't match up with what you saw at all?
It really, yeah.
Like, nobody can get an accurate picture of what it's like to look at the moon and be amazed by it.
Hmm. It's just like,
And
sitting in adoration, and I got sent this photo. Somebody saw in the host an image, and it's quite special and great, because she points to Jesus, but she saw an image for herself of the Virgin Mary inside the center of the host, and she took a picture and sent it to people. and that's great. But then when you look at that photo down the road, do you actually see what you envisioned at that moment, or is it just a memory and you know it's
Right.
not real at this point?
All
It's
you've
just
done is
like,
create a pointer.
yeah, like I basically threw out, because we were discussing it last night as we were as we were switching transition relief and adoration. I was leaving after my hour, and I mentioned like, I've actually seen Jesus's face in the host, but I didn't get it. I didn't have the time to get my camera out, nor did I want to. It was a
Like
split
kind of
second.
the
Yeah,
ceremony and the ritual that you're supposed to follow has nothing to do with
yeah,
smartphones in it, as I recall.
exactly,
Like
exactly. That,
pretty sure that's not
yeah,
what God wants you to do with the
yeah,
host.
yeah. When you see, when you're given that revelation, it's private for a reason, because not everybody's going to believe it, even if they see it,
Right.
because it's still your eyes that are seeing it. You can take a picture of it, but it's still your eyes seeing it. He's
Right.
revealing to you, not not to everybody else. If he wants to reveal to everybody else, then he's going to reveal himself to everybody else.
Right.
So,
And
but when
moreover,
it's just
if
private, yeah,
yeah, and if it is supposed to be something you're supposed to share, it'll happen twice. You know?
exactly.
Yeah, I know.
I
It's awesome, isn't
stargaze
it?
all the time and gaze at the moon. I get what you mean. Every time I do this, it's like the very first time. The beauty is profound. Exactly. Every time I walk out on my deck, for especially for any moon, but I see the moon, especially on a full moon, I take it as a just provincial treatment. Like I experience it, and then I walk away and just sit down,
Well, for me, it's
take
always
it for the
like
moment.
I look at it and then I get absorbed into it. Like
Hmm.
I can feel the space between me and the things that I'm looking at, and it feels so vast. It's almost
Hmm.
the feeling of that distance that you can't capture in a flat photograph.
That's
Yeah, and
why when I
when the moon
go,
feels close, it's like there's no way to get a photo of that.
hmm that's why I'm really longing. It's been a minute since I did my pilgrimage to Gettysburg, but every time I go to Gettysburg, like I feel something walking those grounds. I actually experience something of my own, of as if I'm actually there in history, with with the guns going off, and I've smelt the smoke of the cannon
Hmm.
fire, and I've smelled death, because a lot of death occurred. Like there's something consecrated in that ground because of all the death that occurred, for every different perspective of why people were fighting, with not just both sides and both political adversaries between North and South, but for
Yeah,
every individual that was on that battlefield. They were fighting for their country, for their
hmm,
specific personal perspective,
yeah.
and I can feel that, because I
All that
actually allow
individual
myself.
action in
Yeah,
this mass
yeah.
of larger story. When
Hmm.
I went there, I remember feeling like there were all these stories in the ground that would never come up. That no matter how much we wanted to, we would never be able to see what any one of those individual markers was there fighting for. You know,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
and and to try to unpack that felt wrong, right? Like to try to figure out somebody's story almost felt like an invasion of privacy.
Hmm.
Um, you know, but to be among it, right? To have all that just beneath your feet, as you walk around it yourself. That's something, if you let yourself, can be a profound experience, I think.
Hmm.
And that's I think
Exactly.
that circles back to the point about like not trying to view the world through the camera of your smartphone. Like trying actively to not view it that way. um,
Yep.
because it's flat, it's not real, it's not. I mean, it's real in the sense that the pixels are lighting up according to the light that's hitting the lens, but it
Hmm.
loses something when it passes through that. It's not the same thing as being there. And if you stand there with this in front of your face, right, you're only going to see your phone screen.
Hmm. Whereas if you stand, yeah, I mean the aspect, like I love, like when we had the solar eclipse that came through a couple years ago. I mean, I love that people were getting the glasses and going and finding a place so they could actually see it. I had
Hmm.
family, I had a cousin that went and did that, but I was sitting there cutting my grass that afternoon as it hit, and I did not look up because I don't want to blind myself.
Mhm.
But I stopped mowing, went into my garage, watched the darkness. It was pitch black in my garage with the light, and just
Mhm.
experienced it. And like that's what the experience is the necessity, not the I have the glasses and I can now look, so now I can take a photo staring at it
Mhm.
right then and there. You're not, are you actually experiencing it? Yes, you're there. Yes, you're able to actually look directly at it, but are you
Yeah.
actually experiencing it, or is it just a tourist trap?
I just went against the advice of the experts and looked straight at it. My eyes still work.
That's good.
I
Well,
was, I was in I was in downtown Indianapolis when that happened, actually,
mm-hmm.
um, and it was cool because like they got the full blown one. Um, and usually, it's probably good advice not to look at it. I'm not saying people should
It
just
probably, yeah.
ignore
You
it,
probably
but
shouldn't. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I didn't
but
look
if you but if
directly at it
you
for a split.
but
I
if you
did look
glanced
up.
for a second, then
I
you're not
did.
going to
I
get.
did. I looked up and glanced for a
Yeah,
second to see if I could get it. I walked up.
yeah.
I kind of walked outside and just experience outside, and I'm like, I'm
Hmm.
curious, and I slowly did it because of the experts. I'm like, oh, I'm still. I got a glimpse, and then I went down because I don't want to blind myself. Because I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
So, but you
I mean,
never
it's
know.
probably going to pay itself back to me in earlier cataract surgery than I might otherwise have to get, but otherwise, I'm probably going to be okay. But the
That's
cool,
probably why they recommend against it. The
probably,
cataracts down the road.
yeah, exactly. There's going to be like a surge of them in n number of years from when that event happened. They're going to know exactly how many people, if they're paying attention to the right numbers, ignored their advice.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but it also kind of drives back to the point, right? Like that glance in which you get to see it is a lot different from taking a photo of it.
Hmm.
You know, it's not the same thing. And if you
Hmm.
spend any time trying to aim a camera at it, you're not really experiencing it. You're experiencing taking a photo of it. So, you know, not to say that there's anything wrong with that, right? Like if you love taking photos, that's fine.
Hmm.
Um, but if you're doing it because you feel like you have to for it to have happened, that's when you've
Hmm.
crossed a line into like maybe put it away, maybe just live the experience.
Hmm.
Yeah, because you won't forget it,
I
right? Like I'll never forget looking at that for the split second I did. I didn't need a picture.
actually live the ontological pursuit of a human purpose
Yeah, exactly.
experience.
Experience the things that happen between different phases of the ontology, because it's the stuff that you can't describe that happens when it's changing that you will remember, but you would otherwise miss.
Exactly, Katie.
Yep. I love taking
Beats
photos. I
happy.
mean, I do
Yeah.
all the time,
Hmm.
but I also love putting it away.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have a slew of different photos from different trips, but I hardly actually look at them. That's the, yeah,
Yeah,
because I was there. Mhm.
right.
It's mostly just for if I'm interacting with somebody else in conversation in
Mhm.
stores, I can show them some pictures. Yeah, and the hope is if I show them pictures, maybe they'll go experience it themselves. But that
Yeah.
all doesn't always work.
Well, maybe that's something that we should do, or that Chronopump Labs should do um, with camera drones, right? Imagine if you had something that rode along with you and didn't distract you with the fact that it was taking records for you.
Hmm.
That would be pretty cool. Like uh, I could see an interesting compromise between always taking photos of things to prove that they happened and having automation that does that for you without getting in your way. Um, that might be okay if your goal was to photo document your life, but
Hmm.
um, I don't know. That's
Oh,
going to be one of the
yeah.
tough things about this tech, because
Hmm.
when we finally start building it, we're going to have a lot of choices about how we could do things, and we don't want to do them in a way that diminishes humanity, because I think that's the mistake technology as an industry has made. They've put all of the point of being human into the devices, and
Hmm.
really they're just things we carry.
Always carry the memories.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is no camera that can take an emotional impression, is there?
Mm-hmm. Just like there's no, just like there's always going to be a separation between a statue of Jesus, a representation of Jesus, from the real
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly. All of it's a projection. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, even your experience of the idea of projection is a projection of the idea of projection. You can't step outside it.
Yeah.
Be like trying to get someone to explain grammar by stepping outside of language.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by the time you've gotten your first word out, you've already adopted the prior as an assumption.
Katie just became a Catholic apologist right here. No, but that image can remind you of
That's
the
true.
emotional spell at the time.
That's
Yes,
true, and that's one of the
sacred
great things
images are
about
not
them.
graven. Yeah. Sacred images are not graven images, Protestants.
Right.
It's
And
a
moreover, that
reminder.
it's the act of remembering that makes them valuable, not the arrangement of the pixels.
Mm-hmm. Why do you have statues of saints and of Mary? Because it's a reminder of the glory of God. That's why, and art,
Right.
and to
Well,
show that we're on the path of holiness as well.
right. And also to demonstrate that human hands can make something that represents that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The point isn't just to display the art; it's to remember the fact that a man with a chisel and a rock polisher and a vision made that. You know,
I got to work
and
harder
that
on
it
my
survives
apologetics.
them. Yeah. I don't know. I've always thought that that beauty for its own sake is a good enough explanation for all of the icons.
Katie says I'm a witch. I got to work harder on my apologetics, but I mean, theoretically, if you read the Talmud, I mean, which is disgusting, don't actually read the Talmud. In fact, burn the Talmud. Yeah.
No.
But Jesus was a sorcerer who was of Satan and was just a man, and Mary was a whore.
Mm.
Thanks, Jesus.
Well,
I love you.
well, you know, some people just have to tell the story in a way that suits them, and we don't have to listen to them, but
No.
can, right? That's the other thing. Like, I get the impulse to say, don't read it, burn it, but but at the same time,
No, you got to understand.
right? It's a poor faith that can't stand up to information from contra belief, right? Like if you have to burn that to coexist with it, then you've already got a weakness that you're not acknowledging.
Yeah, if you got to burn knowledge, then you might as well just burn all the ancient. If you're going to be stuck in your own ways and stuck on just a limited capacity, then you might as well just burn like all of Homer's works that we've saved, all of Aristotle's. Like you might as well just burn. I forget his ethics book. I'm going to butcher the name.
Nicomachean ethics, yeah.
Nicomachean ethics, yeah. Yeah. I wasn't gonna say the word.
The
Nicomachean. So that's literally how we literally establish society and culture through his lens of ethics.
Right. It's our heritage in a sense, right? And we can't get rid of our heritage. We don't have to be proud of every piece of our heritage.
Yeah.
But if we're going to be strong in belief in what we believe in, then we can't be afraid of the beliefs of others.
That's the one reason why one of the many reasons within the political schism of the Orthodox East and the communion of Rome with the Catholics is the fact that the West took a lot of the Greek and Aristotelian metaphysics to try to explain the mystery, and the East just wants to keep it a mystery, which rightfully so. Maybe sometimes the mysteries are meant to be mysteries. That's the understanding, is to not have full understanding. So we treat we call the transubstantiation, or the forming of the bread and the wine into the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Christ. We take it as a metaphysical concept in the Aristotelian ethical philosophy of epistemological and ontological approach. as transubstantiation. The Lutherans take it as a mystery of consubstantiation, like something's happening, but we don't know. Something's happening, but it's still bread and wine. There's something going on. And then the East basically says, and it's a mystery. We know that it changed. There obviously it's the flesh and blood of Jesus, but
Right.
we're not going to explain it.
We can sense a change because of the
Mhm.
reaction that we've had to it. But
Mhm.
it's only in the relationship between the thing, the experience of taking it, and the experience of self while encountering all those events, right? Like it's
Mhm.
weird because it's not the sort of thing you can do a component analysis on. The thing
Mhm.
itself flees from the division of it. You can't break it down into pieces without destroying the meaning you're looking for.
Mhm.
And that is why it's described as an act of faith, right? Because
Mhm.
you do it without trying to break it down, because breaking it down, ruins it. The very thing you're looking for, if you start putting it under a microscope, is the thing that flees the second you put the light on it.
Hmm. That's why faith is in everything. Even if you don't believe in anything and believe in the science, you're still putting your faith in those that are
Right.
doing the studies, doing the observations, that are trying to test the hypothesis. So you got to understand that faith is in everything. If faith without reason is utterly retarded, and reason without faith just makes you fucking stupid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's how you end up with meaningless assertions that sound like they belong in a journal of grievance studies or something, instead of like
Mm-hmm.
actually having an impression on you. It's the same. It's honestly kind of the same phenomenon of clicking a smartphone and expecting it to reveal a feeling of the size of the moon when you come back and look at it later. It won't do it.
It's like,
That's the
it's
cool
like
thing about it. There can be meaning that we can't access, and that can be okay. We if we know it's there.
Mm-hmm. It's like
That's
seeing
actually
it's like seeing a full blown blood moon on the night of that blood moon, and then taking a picture of it, but then you look at it a couple days later and you didn't capture the blood moon because the
right.
picture didn't. Yeah, it does. The
Right.
light that reflects.
It just looks like a blob in the sky of white light,
Mm,
and you can't even quite see the rim anymore by the time you're done
yep,
taking the photo.
exactly.
It's
So
actually interesting
pictures are great.
too. From the standpoint of chronotopology, people always want to know, like, okay, if you've actually figured out what happened in the beginning, and the answer has to be, well, we can't know that. We can only know that by what happened after, because and for a thing to be causally related to another, then the first event has to follow a second event that's related to it. And in
Mm-hmm.
order to understand what that first event was, you have to take it in total with the second event, meaning you can't know
Mm-hmm.
what happened between here and here, not without tearing
That's
apart the meaning that makes it work.
that's why these great Bible believing Christians out there that take things literal, and even Catholics as well, they look at they look at Genesis and the beginning story, the creation story, and they dissertate that either everything is literal and dinosaurs did exist, but dinosaurs walked with Adam and Eve, which is utterly insane. But then you have, especially in the Catholic perspective, that there's nothing, it's all a psyop. And dinosaurs didn't exist. It's like, I mean, and then they'll use the expression that, well, paleontology is a more modern concept, and we didn't really start studying or discovering these fossilized records until about the
Mhm.
17th century. It's like, well, I mean, people weren't really looking for that until about the 17th century. They
Right.
started
We didn't have the
expressing.
ability to see that, right? Like, we didn't have the ability
Yeah.
to think of it that way.
Hmm.
And so the fact that we couldn't, like, to me at least, the logic is pretty sound, right? That any being that would create us would know our circumstances. That seems
Hmm.
like a reasonable, like,
I
almost like a
can, yeah,
naively simple,
I can
line to draw.
understand. Yeah, I can understand the Catholic Orthodox grievance because, like, it could theoretically take away from the philosophical aspect of our faith on the level that if dinosaurs existed, then death didn't enter this world with man because of man's fall and choice. But I don't think they're reading the story for what it is, which is both polemic. It's polemicism towards the ancient false faith,
Yes.
especially Egypt, and it's also poetry in a metaphorical and allegorical sense.
Right.
So you have to look at it through that lens. And the fall of Adam and Eve has more to do with a spiritual death through the choices that they make rather than the concept
Yeah.
of death in its
Well, I
physical
mean,
sense. Because obviously animals died. I mean, how do you think that uh, Adam was given the dominion of the garden, and how do you think he ate? Was he just vegetarian? I mean, even if he was, the plant was dying when you picked it. I
yeah.
mean, the fruit was dying when you picked it and ate it. So
Right.
if he was eating the beast, then you had to kill the animal in order to eat it. So obviously, the physical aspect of death was still there. The story has to resonate with the spiritual assumption of death moving in, and the shame, the guilt of distancing yourself from accountability because of your disobedience towards rightship with God.
Mhm.
And I think people
Yeah.
are just taking it literal they take it too
Right.
literal.
Well, and it ends up turning into, another kind of idolatry, the worship of words instead of the worship of God. Right. Like,
Yeah,
um, we
fanaticism.
don't want to turn the way we describe it into the thing
Hmm.
itself. And historically, we wouldn't have made that mistake either. People forget how hard it is to make a book when you're
Hmm.
living 2,000 years ago. Like, uh,
Hmm.
you don't
Tedious.
accidentally forget the book is there as an experience you're having when you have to work that hard to make it.
Hmm.
What you're doing is you're writing things that give people an experience that they can share, and
Hmm.
and you can't take the impression of the words too far without destroying that. Similar to the way you can't take a smartphone out, take a picture of the moon, right, and have it actually
Hmm.
remember the moon like you did. It, it it's a facsimile of a way people who were trying to communicate a belief um, over time, right? Like two people who were going to experience it as a book, not as
Hmm.
a thing that they would be able to transparently overlay on the world and get some knowledge out. It was a way. It was a way through uh, the question to the beginning of the path, so you could keep asking it, as opposed to a way to the answer. I think this is my take, but it's
Very
probably
good.
a little too tailhardian for most people's taste, but
That's why we need to forget the Enlightenment, but at the same time take the Enlightenment for what it produced, and then
yeah.
spin the better tale that actually coincides with
Right.
reality.
Enlightenment TM is the enemy of the ideals of the Enlightenment just as much
Hmm.
as anti-Enlightenment thinking. Right.
Hmm.
We can't lionize the concept and pretend like we've understood the idea.
Yeah, and I think Kant himself actually understood that because he actually ended up arguing with himself in his critique of pure reason, whereas
Yeah.
like guys like Rousseau and Voltaire were too astute to their secularist beliefs that they just
Yep.
forgot that there's more. And then
Right.
John Locke, I think, focused too highly on what was going on in the reality, and then trying to combine it with the westernized Christian sense, but
Right.
outside of the westernized Christian sense. And so you lose pieces of what
Right.
should
And
be balanced.
exactly. If you just take one
Yeah.
of them, but if you do what you just did and you examine them critically from the standpoint of your own view, and you say this is where this one was going too far and this is where that one was
Hmm.
going too far, they're all circling the same idea. And
Hmm.
so by absorbing their mistakes and learning from their mistakes, you become closer, right?
Hmm.
It's almost like a hunt for the flaws in the things that are good that allows us to find a better good thing.
Hmm. Either that, or you end up falling into the Nietzschean trap, and then
Yeah.
you fall into nihilism. So
Yeah, I still feel like nihilism was built around Nietzsche rather than by him.
I think, yeah, it was built around him because
Because
realistically, if
he was
you
more of
actually,
just like a stoic situated in modernism than anything else, in my
yeah,
mind.
and I think the nihilism that built around him because of his stoicism, actually, you're exactly
Yeah.
right, is what ended up building up the 20th century for its
Right.
totalitarian scale
Right.
of
Because he was never
communist
saying
and Nazi
that
belief.
God was dead because I killed him with my pen. He was saying that
Hmm.
we killed God.
A man who didn't believe in God was basically saying that the moral concepts of what religion believes, especially with Western Christianity, um, we were destroying it because we were forgetting about it, and
Right.
humanity needs to cater to a moral concept for a societal structure of just a healthy culture. And
Right.
so he was trying to reciprocate that and say, I don't believe in God, but at the same time, we as humanity need to have something centered fold in our
Right.
concept of
Because
reality, or else
yeah,
we're gonna
it was
fall.
a lament from the standpoint of somebody who'd stopped believing in God. Right. It was
Hmm.
more like without this belief, we're lost. Was the point?
Hmm. I
Um,
mean, you can read Ecclesiastes, and literally it's Nietzschean.
yeah. Oh yeah. No.
It,
Exactly.
yeah.
And if you read a lot of his work, uh, and I highly recommend people read it if they haven't encountered it by
Hmm.
any other means than the T-shirt and the colloquial
The
critique,
meme
right? Because
and the memes.
because you know, yeah, exactly. Because to elide over the actual criticism he was making, uh, you miss an opportunity to see exactly why it was wrong. You know, like 'cause I'm not a Nietzschean by any sense of the imagination, but I appreciate the beauty of the prose and uh, the strength of conviction behind the arguments he was making. I just don't agree with them. Right?
Well, he was,
But
yeah, like his philosophy. It was kind of, he was being squeezed in in a more modernist society that by the exploitative capitalist movement of the day, from the
yeah,
liberal ideology of enlightenment principles, with that
right.
of the Marxist socialist thought, which was literally of nothing, believe in nothing, man is really nothing without being a little labor slave, and we have to right ship and
Mhm.
collectivize and create a centralized structure to that
Right. If you
will
read Nietzsche as
inevitably
an
bring a
example of the
utopia.
kind of damage done to men
Hmm.
by the way we've conceived modernity, then he becomes an
Hmm.
empathetic figure. You know, somebody whose life story is ultimately sad because a
Yeah.
mind like that was trapped in this system that had emerged that we hadn't thoughtfully composed and that had no exit door. Right. That was his issue. And if we look at that as
Yeah.
a tragic example of what less articulate people who weren't writing books were experiencing too, then we can sort of come to understand the human aspect of Nietzsche and feel a little bit sorry for him rather than demonize him, um, which which is I think the thing that you learn by trying to read him, right? Like the fact that this is an example of a flawed point of view um, is very human.
Hmm.
But I don't know. That's my unconventional take on Nietzsche.
Wise words. This is a new proverb. Anyone can write words, but not everyone can write.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's a
exactly.
proverb now.
Just like anyone can cook, but not everyone can become a great chef.
Hmm. Exactly. Well, I think getting closer to the 2 hour mark, I'm gonna be
Yeah,
waiting at the emperor here. I
yep,
think we should kind of end it.
yep. Yeah, I gotta go. My wife wants some ramen, and I'm gonna make it for her. So,
Real ramen? Like, are you actually making the pasta?
no. I'm opening a baggie, is dropping it into a microwavable bowl, adding some water, and then sprinkling in her seasonings just as she likes them. That's what I'm doing.
Mm, mm,
We deviate from the recipe a bit, or at least she
mm.
does. I don't. I like to eat it plain Jane, um,
Ew.
but she's got a thing, and I know how to make it, so I'm gonna make it for her. That's what
Hmm.
I'm doing next. I highly recommend, by the way, anybody who has somebody to go do something for, just go do something for them after we get done. It'll make you smile in a surprising way. And if you don't, then go
Yeah.
do something for yourself. Same thing.
Mm-hmm. Because sometimes when you do something for yourself that brightens the day of yourself, the glow will reciprocate to others.
Right. Take care of yourself, and yourself will take care of you.
Mm-hmm. Set to be the example. So, but with that, everybody, this is an Irish goodbye.
Oh, that's cool.
So, watch us.
Yep,
I think that's what it is. Is that
we are back?
We are back,
and we will be continuing this. Yeah, that's a great one. I love. We should do a whole episode on music. Honestly,
she means click tight.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, click tight, everybody. So, but
it was
Katie,
it was good to see you too, Katie.
So nice to see you in text form. Hopefully soon in reality.
Yep. And anybody else who's here with us that didn't feel comfortable speaking up and saying, "Hey, this time, we'll see you next time," and don't be afraid to to put some words to us. We'll put some back.
Stray Kids. That's something. That's something that Mr. Greg over here would probably know.
Yeah, I was in music for a long time. I still love it.
Well,
we should get a playlist going. We should all add to a playlist. I think that'd be a fun thing to do for Legacy Right. Yep. And Katie, you'd be welcome to send songs to contribute to it. We'll take audience ads as well. If we build a playlist though that we all make together, then we can all listen to each other's music. So that might be a fun thing to do.
Mm-hmm. They are amazing, and that is the plan. Let's get a playlist together and join us on Monday morning, because you know what, that might be the topic. We might just go into music.
That'd be cool.
Because music is literally everything. So,
I haven't published it yet, but there is a chronomusicology paper out there that I'll do a little reading up on. Since the last time I touched it, might have some interesting chronotopology crosses with music.
Sold. We are sold. 11 a.m. Eastern, Katie, but it'll be there. It'll be there out in the cosmos of the web, so on YouTube, so you can.
Yep. So if you're living in the real world and you don't have time to watch it, man, that until later, that's totally cool. And we'd love to have you there for the music episode, especially if it's something that means a lot to you.
Mm-hmm. So 3 p.m. would be it for her. So 11 a.m. should be good then.
Okay.
Hopefully. So, all right.
Well, everybody, it's been fun. I'm going to go make some ramen and go outside, stick my toes in some soil and live in the world.
I'm going to go to jail.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, literally I'm going to jail for a couple hours.
We'll take pictures. I'm kidding. Cool. Well,
this is what we're using.
Excellent. Well, I guess
the daily
I would say send my love to those people when you go, because
always. Always. All right. See y'all on Monday.
Yep. Later, Katie.